Try this again.
User in your channel started recording.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brett McCoy,
Good evening, everyone.
Chris Scales,
Evening.
David Hall,
I know you guys want me to talk like this, but sorry, I'm back to normal.
Greg Hectus,
What up, boys?
and Tony Groves.
Howdy, gentlemen.
Hey, hey. All right, welcome everybody. It is week 13, and you know what that means. It's build day, and so there's a lot to go through. So let's jump straight to it. We're going to go right into news. So, Tony, start us off with the fixed send off.
Yeah, again, it looked like there's a lot of people wanting to, get their last races in on the old package. Looks like 697 people signed up for the. It's a Friday night split.
Oh, it'd be Sunday night.
Was it the Sunday one? Okay, well, good. I wasn't paying attention. Anyways, for the top split of that race, the strength of field was 68-40. So you got the creme de la creme, so to speak, having a hell of a race with that last package.
RIP, man. NASCAR in the new package, and boy, I already missed the old one, I think. But yeah, a lot of people came out, man. Almost 700. Think about it. We usually only have 400 or so at Sunday night in NIS fixed, and so that's a big jump. And it's probably due to that car is done. We're not going to race that car anymore. So kind of bittersweet to see it go, but interesting that everybody came out and ran it that last night. All right, David, tell us what's going on with Week 13.
There's been a lot of fun series. I'm gonna just, I guess, list off a few details about the few of them, and then we can open up the discussion on them. There's the Le Mans Lucky 7, which is basically the Le Mans class cover cars plus the BMW. It makes for 7 cars. It's one of their attempts to test the 7-car system. I've run a few of them. It's been pretty fun. This one, though, has been a blast. Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's been running the Radical RS8 at multiple tracks, and it was the first time I've ever been on New Hampshire road course. It's also been at Dega, and I think last night it was at Laguna Seca. Been having a blast doing that. Me and Mason the other night ran the Tube Frame Twister, and that's a combination of oval cars and road cars running a combination of different kinds of tracks. The Figure 8 has been running with the Rallycross cars.
I won that last night.
Yeah, he did. And the 24 Hours to Fun is running the Skippies, which has been pretty popular because it's the car that has the new tire model.
New tire model. Oh, my God. All right, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, what do you guys think about Week 13? Is this a good lineup? I mean, what I picked was I did try the Afraid of the Dark at the New Hampshire road course, and I did not know the track, and it was, like, impossible because you can't see where to go. And so, yeah.
That's the track. Doesn't New Hampshire's one go on the outside of the actual track? Like there's a spot it goes like right on the backstretch there. It goes out into like the camp area.
Out to the parking lot, yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually got some neat elevation changes. I practiced it just a little. I ended up getting to run 3 of the races. The first time it was literally just trying to learn the track. The second 2 times I got podiums. Once I learned the track, it just took a little bit, but it was a blast. All of these have been really fun. On week 13, I usually kind of almost disappear, but there was 3 different series here that have been really interesting to me.
Now, the other day, I was in here when Mason, Phil, and Justin got together and ran the 24-hour one with the. It's not really a 24-hour race. That's what they call it, but it's a Skippy with the version 7 tire, and it's the one car that has the new tire model. And they got in there and tried to figure it out, and I think their results or what they felt was inconclusive. They don't know the track or the car well enough to really understand what's changed with the tire yet. So I think Phil and Mason did run it on the V6 before the change switched over, and then they ran it again on the V7. But I think they still didn't really feel what the differences were.
Oh, that's at the new Charlotte, correct? The new layout, one of the 7 that they just released.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
not the same Roval that the Cup cars run, I believe.
No, different one now.
Is it probably that? Oh no, because they would have changed that track because they bulldozed it all and put new pavement down. But I was gonna say it's that one that you could run on that was that Ford car, wasn't it? Mike, haven't you run those cars?
Yeah.
I may have already mentioned this. That one neat thing about that New Hampshire track, and IMSA never runs there, but it goes outside the track, and there's actually some elevation changes instead of it being your typical
The big old hill,
Roval.
right?
Yeah, there's a pretty big hill, couple of big hills that you run around, and the last left-hander before you go back into the oval is really off camber and easy to spin out.
I won me Are You Afraid of the Dark race that first night at Talladega. And I don't know if I'll race any more of those, but I want to try out the figure eights since they did them in the rally car this time. I think that'd be a lot more fun than those street stocks. And I'm gonna have to look up for my shout out here, or my last off. I'm gonna have to give a shout out to that dude that helped me in that Talladega race, because there's a guy in this race just pushed me the whole damn race. I mean, start to finish. We just pushed me through all the nonsense, and it was just that easy.
Nice. Yeah, that race I won the figure eight. I got the lead pretty early, and I was just trying to maintain the lead. And the triples make the difference, because I would pull up to the intersection of the figure eight, and I would look left, and I could see if they're coming or not, and I would stop if they're coming, so I wouldn't get hit. And that was how I survived.
How many
There's no
cars?
jump.
How many cars the limit there?
I don't know, it was like 20 or so.
And they have to put a jump there next week 13. They should do the same thing. That's a mistake. How do they not have a jump in a figure eight track with the rally cars?
A jump going both ways so they still can hit, or
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, either way, they can have it just the one, or they can have it, both ways, so we can.
You got to get airtime.
Yeah.
okay, Greg. Next, BMW hype.
Once again, the production team at iRacing has made another gorgeous video showing the new BMW M8 car. It was, I don't know what you guys think of it, but the videos are just, every time they are getting better and better. And this one also actually showed the AI making a funny thing, saying no AI were harmed in making the video. But I think that car is going to be a very popular car. It's a really nice looking car. What do you guys think?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I
And
have not driven it yet, but the video, like you said, it's done wonderful production on it.
They look pretty cool out on the track. I was driving the Porsche hybrid, but they were out there, and you can definitely distinguish them from the other GTEs.
I've heard good things in the forums about the people that do drive these kind of cars, saying they really, really, really like this car. In fact, one guy said, "Hey, are you sure that you didn't put the version 7 tire on this car, because it feels like it?"
Another thing they really love is the new sounds, just like when the Porsche come out. Whoever's doing sound work for iRacing right now has really been stepping up the game.
Okay, next, Chris, take cloud cover.
Yeah, I might need bailed out a little bit on this one, because I see that there's a bug that is supposed to have been fixed Tuesday that had to do with the cloud cover, but I had a hard time getting to the actual bug itself.
So the bug is, and if nobody's noticed, or if you haven't noticed, it's always, 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 always partly cloudy. Always.
I never
Okay,
noticed
I
that.
didn't
I never
notice,
noticed that.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that's the bug. And so they fixed it, and now it's not always partly cloudy, only some of the times.
Yep, because when we qualified
In
at
Phoenix.
at Phoenix for the Open yesterday, it was completely clear.
Right, we were waiting for a cloud, and there was no cloud to be had, right?
Now,
So we took note.
when they click that partly cloud, like when it's on partly cloudy, I'm trying to remember in my head. Is the temperature affected completely on partly cloudy, like temperature wise, like so it can only go to a certain max? Like, does that really affect? Like, we could have had more temperatures on some of these tracks, knowing that it was only partly cloudy.
So I don't know if this answers your question, but my first NIS race at Phoenix, in qualifying, 5 minutes, it was partly cloudy, and if you went early, you'd miss the cloud. If you went late, you got a cloud. And the people that went late got the faster laps. And there was a temperature swing of over 12 degrees in 5 minutes.
We weren't seeing those swings before. That's what I was trying to like get at. Like it's a set area when it's partly cloudy. If it's changing now to clear and all that, it can probably swing more.
There were some. I saw some pretty big swings in some of the partly cloud servers over the last few weeks.
Some people are saying it's too much of a swing, but that's what I've heard.
You probably have to ask one of the real life drivers, I guess. I know it's huge. I mean, I've went from the bottom of pylons to the top of them because of a cloud, so it's a big deal. I don't know if it's realistic or not, but I know it's fun.
Well, if it's too much, they can obviously just back it off a bit and fix
Mm-hmm.
it that way, right?
And I don't know about cloud settings, but we see it in real NASCAR all the time. That car that leads the first half of the race slows down when the sun sets and the track gets cooler. It ends up being not the best car.
Oh yeah, you'll see them on in qualifying, just sitting out on pit road waiting for clouds and stuff. So there definitely is a difference in real life. I don't know if it's that big of a difference or not. I said, well, I'll have to ask Dale Jr.
That was the first time I saw in an iRacing qualifying session. It was interesting that the people that went late, because it was funny, because most people went early, and they all finished at the same time, and they start talking. And the guy who was up front, he thought he had the pole, and then a bunch of people went late, and all of those guys went to the top of the board because they had a cloud.
Yeah, it's a big, big difference.
It's just another strategy added into it, right?
Yeah, and so that's what David and I were talking about. On the next race, I'm like, "Hey, where's the clouds?" And David's looking around. He said, "There's no clouds. It's clear."
VR for the win.
But yeah, there you go. Because with the triples, I can see some of the sky, but not all of it.
That's where you would probably, the better thing would be to get out and use the camera thing, like with F12.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Release notes. So we had the release on Tuesday morning. Brent, start us off with a brief description about the difference on beta.
Yeah, they did a huge update to the beta UI. Very first thing that I noticed here, they got the vehicle damage on-off option, which is now in your hosted or test sessions only under the car options tab. With the vehicle damage disabled, all vehicles in the session are indestructible and will take no damage at all from any source. So if you're in your testing or you're in a hosted race, this is a wonderful option for you if you guys are just looking to have some fun. Another thing they did was decals and numbers can be turned off in hosted or test sessions only under the car options tab also. Car numbers and car decals applied via the paint kit will not be displayed, and stock car contingencies will also be removed. So it's basically going to be like your off-season test out at Vegas or someplace where they just got your basic car, unsponsored car. They also updated the sorting and filtering options through the series, and your license restrictions for joining a session no longer apply to spectators. So let's say I wanted to go up and spectate one of the pro drivers. I now have that option, even though I'm definitely not on their level. So as far as the current series for the beta UI, users now have a page with all current series for the season displayed. You just click on the entries to see a list of all currently registered entrants, where you can spot, spectate, or join the session as a driver from that series page. These changes result in dramatic performance improvements and have been made to fix stuttering and responsiveness. Also, in the search box, you can filter by session details, such as if the session is populated, has spectators, has friends, or has someone with your watched drivers list in the session.
The stuttering and responsiveness definitely was fixed. I tried it out on my VR, and it was a lot easier to get into a race. I actually used it to register for one of the Lucky 7 races. And I also do like the homepage now that has each series and a recognizable picture. So it was really easy, quite easy to find what series I wanted. The next step they need to do, though, is to make it where you can enter VR from the beta UI on outside the VR, because I don't want to be stuck in the VR when I'm setting up stuff.
I saw a post that somebody from iRacing said they're working on that. Actually, they're going to have that out soon. Just what you just said.
Is this starting to turn the tides to the beta UI? Is it starting to work?
It was nice. When I jumped in there, I said, "This is pretty nice. I like it."
I haven't tried it, but what gets me on this one is the vehicle damage off thing. I'm thinking those races I could jump into hosted where there's South Boston with some oval car and it's like a demo derby kind of thing, but it's still a race, but it's like anything goes. And that's going to make those races epic with the damage off. That's going to be very, very interesting.
Well, and then I think I was having a conversation with Mason about this. Is it's very helpful if you're in a test session, you can do long runs, and if you kind of scrape the wall or something, it doesn't affect, and you have to restart your long run over. You kind of can just keep going. It's just throw that lap away.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons it could be interesting to try out. I was thinking hosted racing, but you're thinking testing. But yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, it would have been handy even in that Radical R8 race with the After the Dark.
And the number thing, I'm still confused about how this is actually going to play out and work, but is part of the reason that they can be turned off is so that you have the ability to do a proper paint job where you're actually painting your number into the paint, kind of like they're doing in the peak.
Yeah, that's what Bobby was bringing that up in our messenger the other day about that. He was saying that you know how we talked about the 9 car from when Ray Everingham owned Bill Elliott, and then when they first came in,
The
they had those the three dashes off the side of it. Well, that was, I guess, for, as Bobby said, it's actually the letter E at the back of those letters. So you can create that number now in your own font. It's for the fonts that don't exist, right? Like when you're in a paint program, there's hundreds upon hundreds of different fonts you can use. So, and iRacing doesn't have that option right now. So you can make your own letter font, and you can only use it in hosted and stuff, right?
Okay, so if this is the case, then I have two paints, right? I have one that has a number painted on it for when I'm doing hosted or league, and then I have another one that doesn't have one on it because that's for official racing. And so then Trading Paints has two slots for the same car. Is that how I understand it?
They might be doing it like they do with teams probably then, because they have a team logo for the same type of car as they do, or team paint job under the same heading as the normal paint job for that car. So like if we had the Ferrari, you can put your paint job when you're driving the Ferrari on it, and then below it there's a team part of it for if you want to run team events. So they might have a third one option that's probably hosted events or something. I haven't looked to see yet.
It's also available for league races, not just hosted races. Well, I mean,
Right.
I guess they count as hosted, but it's slightly different.
I don't think we have the answer here. I don't think Trading Paints supports what this does yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Okay, next up, Beta UI time of day has been reworked, and they have sliders instead of calendars. Time carryover has been removed in favor of simply not adding a time offset. Let's see. David, tell us about member site.
Okay, Internet Explorer out. A couple of changes for league sessions. League sessions can now be configured to drop races by specifying the number of races that count towards the standings. Races are dropped for an individual when the number they have participated in surpasses the number that counts towards the standings. Changes to the point system apply only to sessions run after the change was made. There's also a new point system that's been added for league sessions called DIRT, which corresponds to the USAC 2019 feature event points for non-Silver Crown races, as found in section 5.9b. And there's a link that you can go to in the show notes. For league heat races, there's a points column that now reflects the points earned in that segment. And there's also a new column called Act Points, which has been added to the league heat race results and reflects the total number of points earned from each of the first segments. And for spectator sessions, there's improved performance and organization by session name.
Okay. And Tony, iRacing downloader and engine model.
Yeah, so after doing the Season 2 update, all the future updates will use the IPv6 if it's selected. If not, or if it failed, the updates will go back to using the IPv4 until it's manually changed. Yeah, the next one, the engine model, this is a big one for this update. You can stall your car.
Oh, I've done it.
Yeah, yeah, I've done it too, just for fun. Um, the oh, where I lost where I was.
But let's talk about this for a second before you proceed. So the engine stalling really means the clutch really works like it should now. Like if you have to start the car, you have to hold the clutch in. When you go to a stop, like at a pit stop, if you don't poke the clutch in, the thing will stall out.
Yeah, yeah, which can totally change the game on pit road. Obviously, if you do things wrong, it's going to cost you a bunch of extra time.
Right, and I've turned it on for the last couple races and been forcing myself to use it. And it's interesting because I've never used really the clutch before. It's always been there, but I never use it because I had auto blip and I had the anti stall and all this other crap, and so it kind of felt useless. But now you can turn that crap off and really use the clutch like it's meant to be used. And I've always thought when I first joined iRacing that this was the one thing it was missing. I always thought that this was the most obvious thing to make it like a simulator. But the idea was as well, we don't want people to not be able to race because they can't figure out how to turn on the car. Well, I think iRacing has finally got over that concept and put it in.
It truly feels or adds another aspect of this that they were missing. I didn't realize it until today when I started to mess around with it. The biggest challenge that I am finding with someone who didn't use the clutch before while going down pit road is getting into your pit stall. I think out of 10 times so far, I think I've stalled that thing out about 9 of those times. So for someone that doesn't have their pedals mounted or drilled in into a secure base, I'm learning pretty quickly I need to do that. So that way I can left foot clutch, right foot brake,
Oh
and
yeah,
keep that car running.
I've,
yeah.
I've I've had to kind of work it around because I wear a slide on my left foot and just leave my right foot barefooted. I don't know why, it just feels comfortable that way. So when I try to right foot brake, I tend to not push it hard enough. So I'm kind of doing a no-no, I guess, and I'm just popping it into neutral as I'm coasting into the pit.
Good idea. Yeah, I have to train myself to put the clutch in when I go into the pit stop. That's the big thing. And then when you leave from a stop, you just got to gas the hell out of it and just make sure you don't stall it out.
Well, so the whole thing about this is I'm kind of surprised it took them this long to do this because this is an option. You don't have to run it like that. So you know I guess the option was always there because it says here that where it was previously a none option. Um, it was actually not none. It was always left the anti-stall clutch aid on for you. So it kind of yeah, I'm kind of wondering why it took this long to get this out here, but um, hey, it is what it is. It's here. It's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy being able having it force you to do this as well with with the cup car. You gotta program two more buttons for the starter and the ignition. That's the one that kind of messes me up.
Yeah, I
And
and S is the key, and you got to hit I once. When you first get in the car, you got to push the letter I. That turns it on, and then you got to push S. Now, sometimes, depending on the car, you got to give it gas while you're pushing S.
now, I lost my train of
Like
thought.
the rally car, I had to. It would not start by me holding down the S key. It would just sit
Oh.
there and turn,
And that
and
has
so
to
I
do
had
with
to give it
different
gas.
transmissions too, right? Those are different
Right,
styles of
and
transmissions.
right, and there's actually certain cars that you have to hold the clutch in before it'll start too.
Well,
So
sorry, Tony, to go on your reason when you're saying I don't know why it took so long. I think if you read into the way that they built it, they didn't just put it to if you didn't have their clutch in, um, and it would stall out. They actually are using the the compression of a motor and finding when it goes into negative and RPMs and then actually stalling out because of compression and not just because it's saying you don't have the clutch in or whatever it is. I think they've gotten a more a harder code built up for this stuff, and that's probably what took them the while, because they wanted to make it right, because they wanted it to feel like, okay, if you're pulling away, the car will start jerking around, or it'll be sluggish if you don't get enough RPM and get it up pit road. Like, if we had the old, I bet you the old package, if we were at Talladega or Daytona on the old cars, if you didn't launch it real good, the restrictor plate would be bogging you down with the way that this is talking about with torque compression mode. So
Real high gear ratio. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have tried this. I certainly did, just for fun. But if you put the like in the Cup car, if you put it into first gear and start it up, it'll actually lurch forward a little bit. Um, and I thought that was kind of neat. So yeah, like if you're gonna do it right, and it looks like they have done it right. From the little bit of messing around I've been able to do with it.
And though you can leave anti-clutch on in pretty much all the official series, I guess. I know there's a lot of leagues that are planning on making that a forced option.
Well, that's another thing that they added to this in the custom events or the hosted. Um, they have a drop down that you can set to disallow all driving aids and basically force everybody to man up and work that clutch.
Yeah,
Nice.
OBRL doesn't allow aids, and so I have to get this set up before the weekend because yeah, they got rid of it. So I have to learn this, and my pedals are adjustable, so my clutch is actually moved too far away because I just didn't. I have paddle shifters and thought
You
it
can
was
use a
silly.
button for a clutch.
Well, I think I'm just gonna move the clutch in and use it, like it's supposed to be. I think it sucks that I have to do that, but
what the heck?
Connection lost. Error.